Discovered, 15 accountants gave up, but one inspiring delivery girl exposed a life-changing truth. Mia pedaled furiously through the streets of Maplewood, her heart racing not just from the physical effort but from the weight of her mission. Each pizza she delivered felt like a small act of rebellion against the shadows of despair that lurked in her town. 15 accountants had lost their jobs, including her own father, Jack. He hadn't just lost employment, he'd lost his will to get out of bed. Tears pricked her eyes as she thought of their once close relationship, now cracked and fractured. She yearned for his approval, but he seemed lost in darkness, and every day it became harder to navigate their pain. Kids played tag, laughter ringing out an innocent sound contrasting with the sorrow Mia often sensed in coffee shops. Overhearing parents vent about bills piled higher than dreams crushed by the failing job market, she longed for a lifeline to toss her father. Maybe she could pull him back. Maybe there was still hope. Yet she felt small against the enormity of it all. On one of her deliveries, she stumbled upon Mr. Thompson, an old veteran with a face lined by both smiles and struggles. "You know, Mia," he said as he mixed dough in his cozy bakery, "life will knock you down, but it's how you stand back up that counts." His words were like sunbeams breaking through clouds, igniting something deep within her. It dawned on her that perhaps she could inspire her father the way Mr. Thompson had inspired her. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Fueled with newfound determination, Mia decided to organize a charity event for the out-of-work accountants. It was bold, maybe reckless, and she questioned whether her father would scoff at her like he had before. She wrestled with doubt, fearing he'd never join her cause, that his stubbornness would lead to a void where hope should be. But she envisioned that vibrant community gathering, their laughter mingling with joy and pain. What if they could dream together again? The event arrived like a storm, with emotions swirling around her. People poured into the community center, faces lit with a flicker of hope. Mia stood at the front, nerves dancing in her stomach as she spoke about their shared struggles, the mornings filled with rejection letters and missed opportunities. Suddenly, she spotted her father at the edge of the room. "Breathe," she reminded herself. "Just breathe." But as she locked eyes with him, an unmistakable tension pulsed between them. Old wounds reopened, exposing raw emotions as she felt the energy shift. Would he take a step closer or fade back into the shadows? In that moment, a question loomed large: could she bridge the chasm created by regret, or would he allow bitterness to consume him forever? The crowd seemed to hold its breath, waiting for a miracle to unfold. Mia's heart thundered in her chest as she met her father's gaze. It felt like the whole world had paused, their lives suspended in that fleeting moment. Jack's face was a canvas of emotions: confusion, anger, longing, but most of all, a deep-seated pain she had become all too familiar with. She wanted to reach out, to wipe away the skepticism that clouded his expression, but all she could do was stand there. The words she had rehearsed in her head faded, replaced by the pounding of fear that she had lost him for good. The audience shifted uneasily. Mia heard whispered conversations ripple through the crowd. Some voices were sympathetic, others curious, but all centered on the strained relationship between father and daughter. She had invited them to witness this moment, a chance to show not just her father but everyone that there could be light even in their darkest hours. But would they see it? Gathering strength, she took a tentative step forward, her voice breaking the tension. "Dad, I know things have been hard. I know you feel lost. But we're not alone. None of us are. We can help each other." She pointed to a few people mingling in the crowd, faces she had seen before, each marked by their struggles. "Look at everyone here. We all fought battles, just like you. This event isn't just to raise funds, it's to raise hope." Unsure, Jack shifted his weight, his eyes darting around as if looking for an exit. Her heart sank. Had she miscalculated? Was she asking for too much? The familiar knot of disappointment twisted her stomach. But then she caught sight of Mr. Thompson, who had come to support her. He stood with his worn hands clasped, nodding in encouragement. That small gesture gave her an injection of courage. "Dad," her voice went softer, almost pleading, "when I look at you, I still see the man who taught me everything. The man who believed in fighting back. You're not just my dad, you're a pillar of the community. If we want to stand up again, it starts with you." The air hung heavy between them. She watched as the conflict in Jack's eyes shifted to something resembling vulnerability. Had she finally hit the right note? Could there be a flicker of hope in the depths of despair? Just as she thought she'd broken through, Jack turned away, an overwhelming sigh escaping his lips. "Mia, I don't know if I can." The cracks of his doubt echoed, but they were laced with a hint of uncertainty. Perhaps it wasn't too late. Her heart ached for him, a merging of love and frustration. "You don't have to know right now. Just take a step forward. I'm here, and I'll keep fighting for you. We can do this together." Around them, the crowd had begun to murmur softly, whispering stories of their own struggles and victories. Each small voice aimed to bridge the gap that threatened to erode their community entirely. Would Jack hear their shared pain, their collective urge to lift one another? Would he understand that this was not just about him, or was it? As Jack hesitated, Mia felt her stomach twist with urgency. This was her chance to reach him. But would it be enough? What if her words crumbled to dust instead of igniting a spark? The event had become a backdrop for her desperate plea, and as each second passed, it felt like an eternity. Everyone watched with bated breath, their hopes hanging on the cusp of this pivotal moment. Could one heartfelt conversation heal years of silence, or was this simply the beginning of another setback? With each heartbeat, Mia realized that sometimes, the most significant battles were fought in the silence lingering between words. With her father poised on the edge, she was ready for whatever came next, even if it was heartbreak. As she opened her mouth to speak again, a loud crash erupted from the back of the hall, pulling everyone's attention away from them. What had just happened in that moment of gathered hope? The sound of the crash sent a jolt through the room, a sharp and startling break in the emotional intensity that filled the air. Mia turned her head, her heart racing again, this time not just from her father's silence but from the anticipation of something unknown. The murmurs around her grew louder, rising into a cacophony of confusion and concern. From the rear of the hall, a table had tipped over, papers flying into the air like doves startled from their perch. One of the event organizers, a woman with hair pulled back tightly, was scrambling on the floor, trying to collect the scattered materials. Papers landed at Mia's feet, revealing flyers about the event, requests for donations, and messages of hope from the community. The whispers around her shifted from quiet speculation to genuine worry. Mia felt her heart waver. The moment she had carefully nurtured was slipping through her fingers. She glanced back at Jack, who seemed more shaken by the disruption than her heartfelt plea. He remained turned away, shoulders slumped, lost in his thoughts. Would he even look back at her now? "Is everyone okay?" The organizer called out, her voice trembling slightly. The crowd responded with a mix of reassurance and advice. Suddenly, Mia felt a tap on her shoulder. It was Mr. Thompson, his kind eyes searching hers. "You're doing great, Mia. Don't let this derail you," he said, his voice steadying. "This is your moment. Reclaim it." That started the spark again inside her. She took a deep breath, centering herself as the mishap began to resolve. The woman was gathering the papers now, and the buzz of voices began to dim. This was her shot. The audience was still here, still listening. She raised her hands, calling for quiet. After a moment, silence fell. "Thank you for your patience, everyone. It seems that, like life, our plans can be knocked on their side. But just as we pick up the pieces, we can face our struggles together." She paused, looking from face to face, gauging their reactions. And just like in this moment, we can turn chaos into courage. Jack slowly turned back to her, his brow furrowed. His gaze locked onto hers, simmering with emotions Mia couldn't decipher. "Dad," she began again, like a lifeline tossed into turbulent waters. "I'm here, and I want to let you drown in this." As if compelled by something deep within him, Jack took a step forward, the crowd holding its breath. "Mia, what if I can't be that man you remember? What if I fail?" Her heart ached at his vulnerability. "Then we'll figure it out together. No one expects you to be perfect, but we all need you. I need you." Jack's eyes glistened, and Mia could feel the weight of everything hanging in the balance. Time stretched, seconds turning into minutes, with the crowd drawn into their moment, some even whispering instructions of encouragement to him. Then, just like before, a low murmur rippled through. "It's time, Jack," Mr. Thompson urged, stepping closer. "Show them you still have fight in you." But just as Jack opened his mouth, ready to break his silence, another loud crash echoed from outside the hall. This one was different, heavy, like a door slamming against a wall. The crowd gasped together, eyes darting to the nearest exit. Mia's heart dropped again. What was happening now? The feeling of dread began to creep back, threatening to swallow the hope she'd just managed to ignite. She glanced at Jack, who looked equally bewildered. "Mia, should we check?" he asked, urgency now present in his voice. Together, she nodded, determination mingled with fear. As they moved toward the door, Mia felt the weight of the unseen challenge waiting just beyond. What awaited them, and would it, like everything else today, derail the progress they had just begun to make? Mia grabbed Jack's hand tightly as they reached the heavy wooden door. The noise from outside was deafening now, a mix of shouts and something else, something ominous. The crowd held its breath, the room thick with uncertainty. "Are you ready?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper, afraid to let doubt seep in. Jack didn't answer right away, but she could feel the tension in his grip. It was a small gesture of solidarity, but it meant the world to her right now. With a determined nod, they pushed the door open and stepped into the fray. Outside the hall, chaos reigned. People were gathered in groups, their voices raising in panic. A few of her friends were nearby, their faces pale and wide-eyed. "What is happening?" Mia called out, trying to piece together the scene. "An accident," a girl named Emily replied, her breath hitching. "A delivery truck crashed into the parking lot. People are hurt." Mia's stomach flipped. She glanced quickly at Jack, his face now a mask of concern that mirrored her own. "We need to help," she said firmly. "Let us see what we can do." As they moved through the throng, Mia noticed the chaotic nature of the crowd. Some were dialing phones, while others stood frozen, processing the shock. Panic was contagious, but Mia fought against it. She squeezed Jack's hand, reminding him of their earlier determination. When they reached the parking lot, the scene was more harrowing than anything Mia could have imagined. The delivery truck was skewed at an angle, its front crumpled like a piece of paper. Nearby, a few people were crouching beside someone lying on the ground, their hands frantically trying to assist. "Stay back!" a voice shouted, an officer, struggling to maintain order. Mia felt a surge of urgency. She couldn't just stand back. "We can help!" she shouted. "Let us help!" Jack hesitated, his eyes flicking between the officer and the people on the ground. She could feel his fear. "Mia, it's dangerous. Please, Jack!" she begged, her heart pounding loudly in her chest. "We can't just do nothing." Something shifted in Jack's eyes, a flicker of recognition, like a barrier he'd been holding onto had cracked just slightly. "All right," he said, his voice steadying. "Let us help." They approached the group on the ground. Mia recognized the person being treated. It was Mr. Ramirez, a beloved local store owner. His face was bloodied, and he lay still, yet Mia could see he was breathing. Working alongside others, Mia took on tasks, holding ice packs and applying pressure to a cut. She felt alive amidst the urgency, the electric pulse of adrenaline pushing her forward. Jack was just beside her, starting to speak with the officer, offering assistance, asking how they could help in a more official capacity. The chaos around them soon began to dull into focus, her fear transforming into a fierce will to take action. Suddenly, she felt a hand on her shoulder. Turning, she met Mr. Thompson's gaze. "You're incredible, Mia. You're leading there listening to you." Mia held his stare for a moment, letting the gravity of what he said sink in. Leading, it was a word she had never associated with herself before, but it resonated deeply now. Yet, just as they seemed to settle into this new reality, another wave of loud sirens filled the air, echoing from the distance, approaching rapidly. "What now?" Jack muttered, anxiety flashing in his eyes again. Mia felt her heart race as she turned to look at the unfolding scene. More vehicles were pulling up, and a team of paramedics emerged with gurneys. She could see chaos reigniting as officials began to direct traffic, and more people gathered, their mouths moving in frantic conversations. She had just begun to realize her own strength when doubts began to creep back in. Could she keep this momentum? Would Jack follow her lead, or would fear pull him back again? Before she could even voice the question to herself, a loud voice called out from the crowd. "Mia! We need your help." She turned. The urgency in the voice belonged to her friend Sylvia, and in that moment, Mia felt a rush of both excitement and dread swell inside her. Jack stepped closer, his expression shifting from confusion to concern. "What now?" Mia took a deep breath, her mind racing. This was just the beginning, but what was ahead was still unknown. What could she possibly do to lead her community through this chaos? Determined, she raced toward the sound of her friend's voice, knowing that with every step, she was forging her path forward. But as she navigated through the crowd, a truth began to unravel in her mind. What would it mean to fully embrace who she was becoming? And in that moment, the siren's wail grew louder. Mia pushed through the crowd, her heart pounding. Sylvia was waving her arm, panic etched across her face. "Over here!" She shouted above the noise. As Mia got closer, she could see that several of their classmates were huddled together, their expressions twisted with fear and uncertainty. A small group had formed around a car parked beside the twisted truck, and at its center was an older man, slumped against the side. He appeared dazed. People were murmuring, trying to make sense of the situation. "What do you need?" Mia said, urgency propelling her forward. "It's Mr. Lewis." Sylvia gasped, tears welling in her eyes. "He helped us with our projects last year. I think he hit his head." Mia knelt beside the older man, assessing the situation. "Mr. Lewis, can you hear me?" she asked, her voice steady despite the turmoil in her heart. His eyes fluttered open, confusion clouding them. "Mia? What happened?" He struggled to sit up, and Mia could see the gash on his forehead. "Stay still, Mr. Lewis. You've been in an accident," she told him, focusing on keeping him calm. "Help is on the way." Jack knelt beside Mia, his earlier hesitation replaced by determination. Together, they helped stabilize Mr. Lewis's head, applying pressure to the wound, while others went for supplies. Mia glanced at Jack, grateful for his presence. His strength was becoming her anchor amidst the storm. "Is there anything we can do?" a nearby student asked, looking frightened yet eager. "Someone needs to control the crowd," Jack replied, scanning the area. "And we need to ensure Mr. Lewis is safe until the medics arrive." Mia nodded. She felt the weight of everything pressing down on her, the responsibility, the fear, the need to act. "I'll stay here with Mr. Lewis. Can you organize the crowd, Jack?" He hesitated a moment, searching her face. "Are you okay?" "Yeah," she lied. "I can do this." With a firm squeeze of her hand, he stood and made his way toward the throngs of people, his earlier fears overshadowed by resolve. As she turned her attention back to Mr. Lewis, between pressure bandages and whispered reassurances, Mia felt the bubbling power of leadership rise within her. Perhaps it was okay to embrace that part of herself. The sirens finally grew near, and Mia felt a rush of relief mingled with dread. The paramedics would take over soon, but what if they couldn't handle everything? What if the chaos escalated even further? There was a storm brewing in the crowd that she could sense. A collective anxiety ready to erupt. "Mia!" shouted Sylvia, her voice rising above the din. "They're coming." The moment the medics arrived, a flurry of activity unfolded. Debates and logistics filled the air as they assessed the situation, quickly taking charge. Mia's chest tightened. Would all this be enough? Would they get everyone to safety? She leaned in closer to Mr. Lewis. "You're going to be all right. Help is here. Just keep talking to me," she urged, gently holding his hand. But Mr. Lewis suddenly turned his head, his eyes wide. "Mia! The truck! There's someone else in the truck!" He gasped, panic flooding his voice. Mia's heart stopped. "What do you mean?" "There's someone trapped in there." He pointed weakly toward the mangled wreckage, uncertainty replacing her earlier confidence. Her breath hitched as she exchanged glances with Jack, standing at the edge of the crowd. "We need to do something," Jack yelled. Mia felt a rush of adrenaline, startlingly clear in her mind. There was no time to freeze. "Let us go," she shouted, and together they moved toward the wreckage. "Help is coming," she assured Mr. Lewis softly, but her heart raced with a new urgency. What would they find? As they neared the truck, the air felt charged with fear and determination. What if it was too late? What if they couldn't save whoever was inside? Each step felt like a leap into the unknown. But this was where Mia was meant to be leading, pushing forward, faced with the dire unknown. What awaited them could change everything, and as they reached the truck, its jagged metal gleaming ominously in the fading light, the question loomed in Mia's mind: were they strong enough to uncover the truth hidden within? Mia and Jack stood before the twisted wreck, their hearts pounding like drums in the chaotic atmosphere. The truck, battered and contorted, loomed over them, heavy with the unknown. The last rays of sunlight cast deep shadows around the scene, making everything feel even more ominous. "Do you see anything?" Mia whispered, glancing at Jack, whose brow was creased with concentration. He shook his head, his features set in determination. They needed to act. With each step closer, the crowd's murmurs faded into a hum, replaced by the sound of their own heavy breathing. Jack crouched down, peering into the mangled opening of the truck's cabin, cautiously scanning its dark interior. "I can't see anyone," he called back, his voice laced with urgency. "What if they're unconscious?" Mia's voice trembled. What if they had already lost someone? She could feel the pull of dread tightening in her chest. Then she remembered Mr. Lewis and his urgent plea. "We can't leave anyone behind." As if sensing Mia's rising panic, Jack turned to her, his eyes fierce. "We won tea. We'll find them." He took a deep breath, visibly steadied himself. "Let us try to lift this door," he said, gesturing toward the crumpled metal blocking their way. Together, they positioned themselves, hands gripping the edge of the truck door. With a shared grunt, they pulled, muscles straining. The door resisted at first, but their determination united them, and slowly it began to budge. In that moment, Mia felt a surge of adrenaline. This was it. This was where she could make a difference. With one final push, the door swung free, creaking ominously as it fell away from the truck, revealing more darkness within. A figure lay slumped in the driver's seat. Mia froze, heart jumping into her throat. "Jack, there's someone here." Without hesitation, they climbed inside, Jack moving to the figure's side. Mia couldn't see the face just yet, the person was partially obscured by the airbag and shadow. She reached in, feeling a wave of fear wash over her. "Hey, can you hear me?" Jack called, shaking the person gently. "We're here to help." Mia reached for the arm, trying to gauge their condition. The weight of the responsibility settled around her shoulders like a heavy cloak. She needed to keep this person awake, to keep them fighting. Stay with us. You're okay. Help is coming. For a moment, silence wrapped them in tension. Then, the figure stirred, and a face came into view. She recognized him instantly. It was Ethan, a quiet kid from school who usually kept to himself. Ethan! Mia exclaimed, relief sweeping through her. Jack held him steady, gently trying to coax him back into consciousness. What happened? Ethan mumbled, eyes fluttering. I can't move. Just breathe, Ethan. You're going to be okay. We're right here, Mia soothed, squeezing his hand. The world outside faded away to a thin gray line as they focused on Ethan. Each second felt like an eternity. Just then, the shrill cries of sirens reached their ears, a sound that signified hope was finally edging closer. Jack! Mia turned to him, her voice alarmed. What do we do? Can we lift him out? Jack assessed the scene before them. We have to make sure he can breathe first. The steering wheel is pinning him. If we can stabilize him first, they'll know how to get him out. With deft movements, Jack began to examine the driver's area, looking for anything they could use to relieve the pressure on Ethan. Mia's heart raced as she held Ethan's gaze, determination flooding her. Stay with us, Ethan, she said softly, searching for something that might help. The sirens grew louder, and finally, the medics burst onto the scene, bravely making their way toward the truck. Mia felt a wave of relief wash over her mixed with fear that they might be too late for Ethan. Over here. We need you. She shouted, waving her arms desperately. As the medics arrived, the situation intensified, their serious faces reflecting the urgency of the moment. But as they started assessing Ethan's condition, Mia noticed something that unnerved her. There were shadows. In the crowd, faces filled with curiosity, a mix of concern and fear. What else is happening, she wondered silently, and just as the medics moved into action, she had a chilling realization: the chaos was more widespread than she thought. What was really going on out here? The possibility of others in need haunted her thoughts, and just as the medics took charge, Mia sensed another shift in the atmosphere. A storm of secrets was brewing in the crowd, and she was determined to expose the truth, whatever the cost. What awaited them could change everything. The medics moved quickly, adrenaline coursing through their veins as they assessed Ethan's injuries. Jack stepped back, letting them take over, but his hands still fidgeted with the remnants of worry swirling in his mind. Mia watched the scene unfold, her heart pounding in sync with the urgency of their actions, but her attention kept drifting back to the crowd. Murmurs and whispers ebbed and flowed like the tide, shadows shifting among the onlookers. Some faces displayed genuine concern, while others turned away, eyes betraying hidden fears. Instinctively, Mia felt a tug of the unknown beneath the surface. She glanced at Jack, whose expression mirrored her confusion. Do you think? Mia started, but the words lodged in her throat. Jack shook his head, his gaze fixed on the medics who worked swiftly to stabilize Ethan. The sirens still blared in the background, echoing the urgency that spread through the crowd. Let us not jump to conclusions, he urged gently, but Mia's instinct screamed otherwise. Just then, a voice broke through her racing thoughts. Is he going to be okay? A woman's voice, thick with emotion, welled up from behind them. Mia turned to see a familiar face, Mrs. Thompson, the school librarian. Her hands trembled as she clutched a cell phone. We're doing our best. One of the medics shouted back, an edge of irritation in his tone. But something about the way Mrs. Thompson looked at the medics told Mia there was more than just concern in her eyes. Fear. Yes, but deeper. With determination, Mia stepped forward. Mrs. Thompson, what is going on? What happened? The librarian's eyes widened. She seemed startled that Mia approached her, standing so bold against the backdrop of chaos. We were at the community center, she stammered, her voice low. Something just exploded. People started running. Mia's heart sank as she processed the information. An explosion? The weight of her thoughts felt heavier, pressing down on her with every detail. Were there many people there? Mrs. Thompson nodded, wringing her hands. I don't know. All I could think of was getting out of there, but people were tripping, falling. I just ran. Her gaze flickered, darting toward the truck. That boy, is he going to be okay? Will they help him? He'll be okay, Mia assured, though her own voice shook. Every instinct told her to dig deeper, to find out what else had happened. We need to know if anyone else got hurt. The medics managed to stabilize Ethan, and as they carefully prepared to extricate him from the wreckage, a deep rumble echoed through the air. Mia turned sharply, looking toward the community center. In the distance, a plume of smoke towering against the evening sky, black and ominous. Her eyes widened. Jack! She yelled, heart racing as she spotted another crowd gathering near the center. We have to go there. What if there are more people in trouble? Jack's expression shifted from concern to resolute determination. All right. We can't just sit here. They shared a glance, the connection between them intensified with shared purpose. As they began to move through the crowd, Mia felt that familiar tug on her heart, a stirring calling her to lead. She pushed a wave of anxiety aside, focusing instead on the feet pounding the pavement ahead. Stay close. She urged, determined to reach the source of the chaos before it consumed them, but as they reached the main road, an unsettling thought occurred. If this incident reached deeper than they could see, was it even safe for them to be involved? A fleeting moment of hesitation flashed between them, but was frozen by a sudden scream. Mia! Jack! Help! The voice belonged to a familiar figure in the throng, Jake, one of their classmates, his face pale, frantically waving for them to come closer. The sheer panic in his eyes ignited something primal within Mia. What is it? She shouted, rushing toward him alongside Jack. People are trapped. Inside. Hurry. A knot of urgency wound through her. This wasn't just a random accident, there were lives at stake. With steely determination, she turned to Jack. We have to go. As they sprinted toward the smoke and confusion, Mia felt an overwhelming sense of purpose. They were more than just students caught in a moment of chaos. They were becoming part of something bigger, driven to uncover the truth behind the shadows and save those who could not save themselves. But amidst their resolve, another uneasy thought lingered. What if they weren't prepared for what they defined? Every step held the promise of revelation, but could also lead them into a darkness they were unprepared for. Mia's heart quickened at the thought. What awaited them deeper within the haze might change everything. Together, they would soon find out, and the answers could lead them to places they never imagined. As they pushed through the crowd, Mia's pulse raced louder with every footfall. The acrid scent of smoke curled into her nostrils, blending with the unmistakable tang of fear that hung in the air. Jack stayed close beside her, his determined expression mingled with worry, a storm brewing behind those bright blue eyes. The crowd around them was a chaotic mix of anxiety and curiosity. A man clutched a cell phone, his voice cracking through the din as he relayed updates to someone on the other end. Women whispered to each other, their faces pale, while children clung to their parents, wide-eyed and trembling. Mia felt the weight of their collective anguish pressing against her. Each person was facing their own silent battle. As they got closer to the building, Jake caught up with them, breathing heavily. It's bad, Mia. There are really hurt people still stuck inside. They didn't get out when the explosion happened. His voice was shaky, filled with urgency. Mia's stomach churned. We have to help them, she exclaimed, the determination bubbling up inside her. Do you know how many? Jake shook his head, panting. I only saw a few trying to crawl out. It looked so tight. I think others couldn't move. Mia exchanged a glance with Jack. They both knew that hesitation could cost lives. We need to find a way in, she said, channeling every bit of courage she had. When they reached the entrance, the sight was overwhelming. The community center stood partially collapsed, smoke seeping out like a wounded creature. Reports of sirens filled the air, but they blended into an unsettling melody of desperation. Firefighters were already on the scene, but their progress was slow with the walls still threatening to cave in further. "What do we do?" Jack asked, scanning the area. Mia took a deep breath, steadying her nerves. She spotted a small door to the right. "We can't just wait. Let us check there." She bolted toward it, flinging it open with a force that surprised even her. Inside, the air was thick with dust and darkness. Mia squinted, her heart pounding as she took cautious steps, the sound of her shoes echoing against the walls. Her world narrowed down to the flickering light from her phone and the sound of Jack and Jake following closely behind. "Stay close," Mia whispered, her eyes darting around as she felt the oppressive silence hug her tightly. They moved deeper, and suddenly, a muffled moan broke through the stillness. Mia's heart lurched. Someone was still here. "Hello?" she called gently. "Can you hear me?" A weak response echoed back, full of pain and fear. "Help please." The sound flooded her with focus. "We're coming. Just hold on," she shouted, moving toward the sound. As they rounded a corner, they found a small group trapped beneath debris, panic etched on their faces. A woman cradled a child close, tears streaming down. The sight ignited an unquenchable fire inside Mia. They couldn't leave them here, not like this. "Mia." Jack's voice cut through her thoughts. "We need to hurry. There's no time." Mia knelt beside the group, assessing the situation. "We can lift this. On 3, okay?" She looked at Jack and Jake, who nodded, eyes steady in their resolve. "Ready? 1, 2, 3. They heaved, adrenaline giving them strength. The weight shifted just enough for the woman to wriggle to safety with her child. Relief washed over Mia like a wave, but they weren't done yet. "Quick! There are more," she urged, glancing back for anything else. Just then, another crash resounded from deeper within the building, followed by a low rumble that sent chills down her spine. "Get out!" Jake yelled, his voice laced with urgency. The ground beneath them felt unstable. Mia's heart raced as fear clawed at her, but she couldn't leave. We can't just leave them here." In a split second, she made a decision. "Jack, keep helping them out. I need to see who else is trapped." "Are you crazy?" Jack shouted, but the logic of her words fell away beneath the urgency of the chaos. With a swift nod, Mia plunged deeper into the shadows, her heart beating wild and fierce. The path ahead, filled with uncertainty, but she wouldn't let fear rule her. What she could uncover in this moment could change everything for everyone here, but at what risk? As she ventured further into the dark maze, the air grew thick with impending danger, and an unsettling thought washed over her. What if she was too late? With every step, she felt the darkness drawing closer, and she knew it was now or never. There wasn't going to be a second chance. And then the ground suddenly quaked beneath her feet. Mia stumbled as the ground trembled violently. Dust fell from the ceiling, clouds swirling around her like a fog of despair. Her breath came in short bursts, the air thickening with dust and smoke. Each heartbeat felt like a countdown. She needed to move fast. "Stay focused," she whispered to herself, feeling the unrest in her gut. That moan from earlier echoed in her memory, urging her on. She couldn't let their cries for help fade into the shadows. As she pressed deeper, she noticed the dim outlines of more debris, twisted metal, shattered glass, and a heavy silence that threatened to swallow her whole. The flickering light from her phone illuminated a narrow path ahead, and her heart raced as another muffled cry sliced through the stillness. This one was closer, full of panic. Mia scampered forward, her heart pounding like a drum. "I'm coming," she called, her voice echoing off the walls, mixing with the distant sounds of emergency sirens and frantic voices outside. she turned a corner and stumbled upon another pile of wreckage. Beneath it lay a man, his face smeared with dust, panic etched in his eyes. "Help me!" he gasped, his voice barely audible. Mia dropped to her knees and assessed the situation. "I need you to stay calm." "I'll get you out," she said, though doubt gnawed at her. The structure groaned ominously over them. The urgency of their plight weighed heavily on her. Just hurry," he pleaded, the terror palpable in his voice. "Jack! Jake!" she yelled, hoping they could help. She directed her focus back to the man, searching for a way to lift the debris pinning him down. "Hold on tight." Her fingers found the edge of a beam. "On 3, we're going to lift this." She locked eyes with him, and for a moment, they shared an understanding that transcended the chaos, the fragility of life and the hope that shimmered like a faint light in the darkness. "Ready? 1, 2, 3. With a surge of strength, they heaved with all their might. The weight shifted, and with a grunt, the man wriggled free, gasping for breath as he stumbled beside her. Joy surged through Mia, but it was cut short as another tremor shook the ground. "Run!" she shouted, grabbing the man's arm, pulling him toward safety. Pushing back against the building's oppressive grip, they dashed through the narrow gaps, the rubble crunching beneath their feet. They reached the exit just as a deafening crack reverberated through the air. Mia's heart dropped. The structure was collapsing. "Go on. Get out!" she yelled to the rescued man, her heart wild with fear for her own safety. "I'll follow." He didn't need convincing, he bolted into the daylight, his silhouette becoming a blur as he vanished outside. But Mia hesitated, torn between escape and searching for others. Just then, she spotted a glimmer of movement behind more debris. "Hello? Is anyone there?" Her heart raced as she knelt instinctively. A woman's voice, soft and scared, filled the air. "I'm here. Please help." Mia's pulse quickened again, and the instinct to help surged through her. "I need to get you out," she called, adrenaline coursing through her veins. But as she reached out, the darkened corners around her seemed to close in, the shadows creeping closer. With a fiery determination, she pressed forward, knowing that something lived in her heart. Faces of those around her blended with the resolute urge to rescue more. "Don't give up," she whispered, not just to the trapped woman, but to herself. "I'm coming." The ground quaked again, more violently than before. Time was slipping through her fingers, like sand in an hourglass. What if this was it? What if she couldn't save everyone? And then, just as she turned to make contact with the woman, another crash reverberated through the building, followed by a bone-chilling voice. "You should have left while you had the chance." Mia spun around, her heart dropping. Someone or something was lurking in the shadows, watching her every move. Her breath hitched in her throat. What awaited her in the darkness of the unknown? Moments of bravery were about to collide with hidden dangers, and Mia felt the gravity of her choices weighing on her. Would she find the strength to face whatever was coming? The shadows beckoned, and time was running out. Mia's heart raced as she heard the ominous voice echo in the crumbling darkness. She realized that fear could either freeze her in place or compel her to act. Gathering every ounce of courage, she chose the latter. "I'm not afraid of you," she shouted, her voice trembling but resolute. "I'm here to save lives." Jack and Jake's figures came into view, their faces illuminated only by the dim light of Mia's phone. "Mia!" Jack called, urgency in his tone. "We can't stay. The building is coming down." The walls groaned and shook, dust raining down like confetti from a forgotten celebration. The shadows shifted closer, sensing her resolve, but Mia pushed forward. "I can't leave until I know everyone is safe." Behind the rubble, the scared voice called out again, "Help. Please." It resonated in Mia's heart, echoing the importance of hope. All she could feel was an innate desire to save everyone trapped in the darkness. "Hold on." Mia yelled toward the frightened woman as she moved, surveying the debris for a way in. With Jack and Jake at her back, they began to lift another beam, working as a team. The dust swirled in the air around them, thick and oppressive, but Mia felt emboldened. On 3. She yelled, determination roaring inside her. 1, 2, 3. With a surge of energy, they heaved together. The weight slid off, and Mia's heart soared as the trapped woman emerged, tears in her eyes. Thank you. Thank you. It was a sound of relief that filled Mia with triumph, but just then, another violent tremor rattled the walls. We need to move now. Jack shouted, pulling Mia and the woman forward. They stumbled toward the exit, adrenaline pushing them into a sprint. As they burst through the door, the structure behind them cracked and crumbled into dust. Mia, Jack, and Jake emerged into the sunlight, gasping for air, the weight of survival hanging heavy in the air. Around them, the chaotic sounds of authority filled the scene, paramedics coordinating, firefighters extinguishing flames, while familiar faces, lost in fear before, now sprung to life in gratitude. They had made it. They were alive and safe. And Mia finally felt like she had transformed. She wasn't just an afraid daughter anymore, she was a fierce leader amongst her peers. Looking around, she made eye contact with Jack. His eyes were filled with admiration and something softer. In that moment, they shared an understanding, a bond forged in chaos. Then, out from the rubble, came Mr. Lewis, Mrs. Thompson, and even some neighbors, emerging from the dust like heroes reborn. When their eyes met Mia's, gratitude washed over her like a warm blanket. They were all okay. Relief. Hope. But more than that, community. In that messy, beautiful moment, Mia realized it didn't end here. They had each other together, they could rebuild, rekindle hope, and share laughter once more. They would unite under the shared strength forged through adversity. Jack approached Mia, brushing dust off her shoulder. You were amazing, he said, his voice full of warmth. You saved lives. You brought us together. I couldn't have done it without you guys, Mia replied, a radiant smile breaking through the remnants of fear. She felt whole, not just as a daughter but as a leader, a guide ready to lift others up. And we're just getting started. Nearby, their community began to gather and talk, sharing stories of resilience and strength just as Mr. Thompson had shown her. This was bigger than one person, it was about their shared journey. As we go back to our lives, Mia said, standing before her friends and family, her voice steady, let us remember what we've been through. Together, we can overcome anything. We're a community now, stronger than ever. Cheers erupted, a collective promise of support that resonated deep in every heart present. Tears mingled with laughter, pain morphed into renewed purpose. Mia felt alive not only for herself but for everyone around her. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but she knew they could face it. With each step forward, hope lit their path, a beacon in the darkness that would guide them. Home, now is your moment. You need to subscribe immediately to this channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, your support keeps inspiring us. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about the ending, we want to hear from you, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. It's time to uplift each other and spread the power of hope.